And now we go live on YouTube. All right. Look at that. Let's go. Make sure there's no sound here. All right. We are live on YouTube and we are live on Twitch. Sound levels are good. Say hello to Mac directly from Houston, Texas. Mac, say hello to a whole lot of 4 people on YouTube. There was like 9 before, but I figured they said, man, these people ain't doing shit, so they probably left.
I just reposted on my Instagram, so we'll see if we get anybody from that. Probably another 4.
Yeah, I'm pretty. Another 4. Oh shit, it went down to 2. Down. They said,
Oh yeah, there you go.
I'm not about to watch 2 guys fucking talk shit over here, so we out. All right. All right, check. I gotta raise my mic a little bit. You can hear me good?
Yeah, I can hear you.
Okay, good. All right, Mr. Mac Brosnan. What time is it? It's 10:14 in the East Coast. What time is it over there?
9:14. We're only an hour
Oh,
behind
yeah,
here.
1 hour behind. I always forget that type of stuff. Mac, a lot of people don't know this, and we never actually had a conversation before. Never, ever.
Yeah, just a little
Besides,
bit in passing.
yeah, besides Texas 2K or GTR World Cup, when I go to your tent and I say, "Hey man, how you doing? Everything good? How you running?" I think last time I actually talked to you face to face, I had a camera in my hand, and you had just blown that crazy intake manifold you guys put on the on
Yeah,
Kimbo for GTR World Cup.
yeah. I wish I could say that was the first time it blew up.
Oh yeah. Oh man, that must have been fun. So, bro, you know what? Before let me put some stuff together here. Before we get started talking. Let's let's say, um, obviously, and I'm sure a lot of people saw when Nice Ones did a little profile on you. I saw that it was done about a year ago. You said it was probably longer than that because it took him a while to put it together, I would say. And I'm sure a lot of people saw that. Uh, Maybe people that already follow my channel. Some people might not have ever seen it because, you know, it is what it is. So I figure we start from the beginning, man. So, uh, who's Mac? Who's Mac Brosnan, man? What who's Mac 5 years ago? You know what I'm saying? And how does Mac get in the race car game, GTR game? Let's let's get it.
Yeah, like you said, Nice Ones did a really nice video. And that kind of started just before I moved to Houston. I've been in Houston now for 3.5 years, so let's say 5 years ago. 5 years ago was kind of when Command was really just starting to take shape in the GTR community, at least. GTR World Cup 2018 was the first outing with my car. We had a series of unfortunate events before that. We were way outgrown in the shop that we were in. Um, and we went to sign a lease at a new shop. We had the lease signed. And when we went to move in the day of, mind you, we had already moved out. There was a new tenant moving in. I think the date was September 1st. Um, the new landlord didn't realize what the dyno was, and he withdrew the lease on us. So we moved out, and we had nowhere to go. I was stuck without a shop for almost 6 months,
Now
which is hard.
we're talking beginning of command performance.
Yeah, I had started it in like 2015, but that's when I dropped out of college. I made it a full-time thing. When I wanted to introduce myself to the GTR community, I wanted it to be in a bigger, nicer shop. And, because originally I had one bay, one lift, and a dyno. My dyno payment was more than my rent. And it
Crazy,
was,
man.
we
Nice.
were just making it work. We got pretty popular with the Evos locally, in Connecticut. And
The prophecies say Fimbulwinter leads to Ragnarok.
Fate only binds you if you let it. We will make our own destiny.
PlayStation.
Let me ask you now. It's you when you started racing or building race cars, the GTR was the first thing for you, or you started with something else before you got into
no,
GTRs?
when I was young, my dad always had a hot rod. So when I was young, I was fortunate enough. My parents were able to give me the option to, you know, want to do go-karts, or obviously I wanted to do what my dad wanted to do. So I wanted to do drag racing. And when I was 8 was when I was first able to, to race in juniors, eligible to race junior dragsters. But I was told I had to get good enough grades. So it took me till about 13, 14 before before that happened. And then I had my first junior dragster. I think it was like 3,500 bucks back then. Um, and we that's what really got me started.
Now,
Then
for the people that don't know what junior dragster is, what age range is that?
I want to say that now you can start even earlier. I think you can start now 5 or 6, but then it was
Wow,
8 to 16. And oh no, sorry, it was 8 to 18. Um,
8 to 18.
I stopped at 16. I never wanted to be that guy because when I was 13 years old, it's basically 13 to 18. Um, and you're getting beat up on by an 18-year-old kid that can have his driver's license for 2 years. That kind of sucks.
Yeah,
I didn't want to be that guy.
shit.
So
So,
yeah,
all
that's
right.
when it really started. And then when I graduated high school, my cousin knew a guy that had a shop with GTRs. Everybody in the GTR community knows him. It was Doug Ross.
Yeah, no
Rest in
doubt.
peace. He he was really what got me into GTRs. I went there and I just worked. Um, I was willing to sweep the floors. I was 18 years old, just going to college, and these guys were working on these $100,000 cars, and
Yeah.
he had a Gallardo at the time, and I was like starstruck. So I probably worked for him for, I want to say, 6 to 10 months for free. I never asked for a dollar. Anytime I would drive an hour from my college down to his shop to just help out. And eventually he said, when I was getting ready to ask, he said that, I couldn't be continuing to do all that stuff for free. And, he hired me. So I worked for him for a long time. And that's what really got me familiar with the platform.
And where, who or where did you learn the wrenching part and the ins and out of those high performance cars? Did you learn it over there at Dog's shop or with your dad?
I learned with my dad, but when I first started working for Doug, I didn't have, I only knew at that point I knew a little bit about 2Js and LS stuff because I had an LS Camaro. In high school, I all I did was flip cars, and I flipped my way up to a '98 Z28 with an LS1. And back then I thought that was real fast, and so that's all I really knew about. I didn't know anything really about forced induction. So at that point, I worked my way up flipping cars and stuff like that. I bought myself an Evo, and that's what really taught me a lot. I always knew how to wrench, just from my dad. Um, but learning the ins and outs of turbo cars and all that stuff, that would really just came, by doing it, hands-on stuff, learning it, figuring out stuff, fucking stuff up on my Evo, so on and so forth.
Wow. Now, okay, back. We can cut all this bullshit later. Remember, people, this is live. We didn't write anything down or script or anything, man. This is a freaking live call. You guys are
Talked
witnessing.
about it about 2 hours ago.
Yeah,
and
right.
then swung it.
Well, everybody's witnessing our first conversation ever. I never spoke to you before, about all this shit before. Like I
Well,
said, I
Mark
saw
Pedrino was a legend in the GTR community with the HKS 1000 back in the day.
shit. You remember that shit? Yeah, man.
That's all
That,
everybody had back then.
that was fun, man. That was a good turbo kit, man. It was
It still is
better
a good.
than I thought. We we squeezed a lot out of it, more than we ever thought we could. We could, like I was saying in when I was talking to Caesar and Billy, we kept throwing boost at it, and he kept taking it, and he kept giving us more. So I don't know. We probably could have taken it even further, but I got out of the game, so it is what it is.
Yep.
But that was a really good kit. Anyways, command. So you got lucky. You were telling the story in the nice ones video, and you got lucky with your shop. How did that happen?
Yeah, I mean, so like I said, we were without a shop for a long time. And it was starting to get real hard. I was only working at night when I could because, originally, if you guys go back and watch that video, you'll understand a little bit more of the backstory. But originally, 2015, when we started the shop, I originally started with my dad for my dad. He was out of work and he needed a place to. That's what he does by trade. He's a mechanic, so he was working at Honda, got hurt, and he needed a place to do his own work, so he wasn't working outside, whatever. So we went, got him a shop. I thought, "Nah, this will be cool. I'll work on some Evos on the side, make a little bit of money while I'm in college." And then it just started gaining some traction. I looked around me and looked at people around me and made me think that I wanted to do something in an industry that I actually loved and try to make a name for myself. So that's where I took the turn, and I made the decision, dropped out of college, and started doing it full time. So we had that rough patch right there where we were without a shop. I couldn't sign a lease anywhere. Everybody wanted planning and zoning. We went through planning and zoning meetings for other places, and it got to a point where I didn't really have a choice. I was losing customers, and it was sink or swim. So I got a call a couple weeks before from Zohair, Boost Logic, asking if I had anybody to try these turbos that they're going to be very competitive.
Which
And
one?
at
Which
the
ones?
time, they were the Boost Logic 1200X.
Okay.
At the time, the TSM Elites were like the biggest thing in GTRs, really, honestly, in street cars. They were making 1300 horsepower, and it was a big deal. People were chasing the stock manifold records, and it was something that I entertained, but I didn't really think about it. And I was I was sitting there, and I was like, well, I got to do something. So I took a shot at it. I originally actually asked Tony Paolo to tune the car, because
Let me
I
stop
bought.
you for a second. So, did you try the turbos that so here the BL 1200? Did you try it on your car first, or you worked on a customer's car as
No,
well?
nobody had used them ever.
Nobody had used them ever.
So my car was the first car,
Okay.
and it was kind of a shot, like, oh, they should work, they should make more power. Um, so I'm talking like GTR World Cup is February 1st.
Yeah.
This is December 31st. And
Nice.
my car is a running, driving full bolt-on car.
Wow.
So I just started selling shit. I sold the LS out of my RX-7. I sold the titanium exhaust off the car, the 1K that was in it. I started getting good deals. I bought a used Motec off of Matt from Dedicated Motorsports. Um, and it was just, everything kind of fell into place. Certain things I stretched. I had all the internals in my motor. Um, I kept the same. I just bought a billet crank, and I used all the stuff that I already had, and I just like I said, I took a shot at it, really. I put a billet crank on a credit card. I really couldn't afford the shit at the time. Zohair basically gave me the turbos, until we made sure they worked and stuff like that. So he floated me my bill, um, until, I paid as much as I could until after the event, and then I had to chip away at it. So without everybody involved, honestly, like Victor from induction, he didn't know he was floating me a tranny, but I was paying him, 5,000 this week, 10,000
Uh,
this week. However, I sold the parts off my car. I was
yeah.
doing it. He didn't know
Talk
that till years later. We became friends.
talk about grind, bro. Grind
But
for the race car.
so
That's
originally I had asked Tony Paolo to tune the car, and he couldn't get it done in time, just because of the time constraint with GTR World Cup coming up. And I hit up Rob Harper, um, and he basically told me chances of getting the car done in that short amount of time are slim. If you get it done, I'll tune it. So we made it happen.
Wait. What was Rob talking about? About you finish the build on the car?
Yeah, because it
Okay.
was like when I tell you, it was a complete running, driving, full bolt on the 85 car, and we were trying with it had a built motor and stock frame turbos and stuff like that. But we were trying to take it and make a 7-second car in 3 weeks.
Yeah.
So
Now,
I scrambled
when
around.
it was Bolton is when you were freaking destroying the streets out there everywhere, right?
Yeah, that was Northeast bolt on.
Northeast.
Yeah, that was
Yo,
the fastest. That was the fastest full bolt on the 85 car that's still ever been on the street in
no
New York
doubt,
and New
bro.
Jersey. Yeah, we originally built the car. I built it in like 2 weeks because I didn't want anybody to know that it was down. So I took the motor out and I had all the parts sitting there. I put a set of SIR stage threes on it and
Nice.
powder coated the engine covers the stock color. We used the stock intercooler pipes. We used 2000 cc injectors with a Kenny Bell booster pump on two pumps. Hammered the fuel pressure regulator. We made it look because I was like, you know what? Somebody's gonna ask somebody who works on a GTR to look at the car if we're really street racing it.
Yep.
And sure enough, that's exactly what happened. So I could point out everything on the car that would make it look like it was still a bolt-on car. I wanted
Yep.
to be able to look at it myself and not know.
Yep.
So that's how I built the car. It ended up making, just shy of 1,100 horsepower.
Wow.
Um, and we had it on a 17-inch slick. It was probably almost running 890s on the street at that point.
That's crazy. I remember you guys were making a killing.
Yeah, we
That's
were
how,
negotiating all the races as a full bolt-on car.
oh, what the hell is going on?
Yeah.
It's probably got it to hell or something.
We only made it we only made it 2 or 3 races and about 3 cash days, and then we were cut off.
That's it. You were all burned out.
Yep.
Yeah.
So I figured the jig was kind of up anyways, so we took it and made it what it is. And we took the car. All it did was idle. We put it in the trailer, took it to Florida on a whim, put it on the dyno at Titan. And Rob basically told me, like, listen, this is the first time the car's put together. It's not easy to run a seven, like, because at that time a seven was a big deal, and it's not easy to run a seven. Don't get your hopes up. It's probably not going to happen first time out. And then the car goes on the dyno and made 1,400 and change. And at that point, that was 100 horsepower over every TSM Elite.
Nice.
Um, so I felt good about it. But we went out, and the first time out, long story, still kind of long, but a little bit shorter. We went 778 and turned back around, came back home, and the phone just started ringing. Then a couple weeks later, I got a call. Actually, like a week later, I got a call from a guy whose shop I was looking at. Called me at 7 o'clock in the morning, said, "Hey, if you want it, it's yours." I didn't pass planning and zoning yet. I begged them to let me put one lift in to get ready for TX2K. And we did that. So we went to the finals at GTR World Cup. Then we won TX2K, and that was it. That was all she wrote from there.
Now, um, what was I gonna ask you? Now, the car was already Kimbo when you built it. Full bolt on. The car was already Kimbo, or did it become Kimbo afterwards?
No, I named it Kimbo because originally we only built it to race on the street,
Only
and
street
Kimbo used to
race.
fight in the street.
Yep.
So it was Kimbo before it made power, and it just
Okay.
stuck.
No, no, absolutely, man. And it's a name that everyone will remember in the GTR community for sure. Everybody knows Kimbo. Now, tell me about that weird manifold setup on that car on that car, bro. And how do you guys come up with that, bro? Tell me something. Tell me
Well,
a
with
little
the
bit
turbo
about
kit
that.
right now.
No, no, no. That crazy manifold.
Oh, the intake manifold.
Let's not get to now yet. That crazy manifold setup that blew up in GTR World Cup. That crazy thing. What the hell? Where did that come from?
That's an intake that some people still do use. It's by Godzilla Motorsports, I think in New Zealand, something like that. It fit the bill for what we were trying to do with the car. The way we built the turbo kit with the turbos backed by the firewall, and stuff like that. So we had that manifold on it, and it was just one of those things where we probably should have checked. We didn't think to check. You would think out of the box it would come, set up correctly, but what it ended up being is just the threads, the bolts on that held the whole lid together. They were just too short. They only had like three or four threads engaging. So when we
Wow.
put a lot of power to it, the first time out with that setup, we went 727. And then we came to GTR World Cup, and second pass it went 7.0. So
I
we went
remember.
to put power in it to try to run our first six, and it literally just split the intake at the seam. And if you looked, it pulled all the threads out of all the bolt holes.
Wow. That's
Um, you
crazy.
know, every single one of them it pulled out. So of course, after it blew up, everybody's walking around and all the engineers are looking and saying, "Oh, this is how many threads. This doesn't even have enough bolts on it," and so on and so forth. But um, we tried to talk to the company about improving it because I still did want to run the intake. It fit the bill for what I was trying to do. Like I said, it looked the way I wanted it to look, and so on and so forth. Um, and they basically told me that I had the wrong ignition system on the car. I was running nitrous and it backfired, and that's why all this bad stuff happened. There was a solenoid on the car. There was no bottle in it. You can hear the video. The car runs clear as day. And then they said that I shouldn't be making that much power on a stock ignition system. Mind you, at the time, I was making about 2,000. We've made 2,450 on the stock ignition. I honestly wanted to approach them to make it better. They basically told me that I was the one that was wrong, and so no problem. We have Mad Sweden on board. They sponsor the car. We have a beautiful billet intake on it, and that's what we ran right after that event for TX2K following.
Now, what when did you run your first six?
It was Hail Mary Derby last year.
Hell, Mary Derby.
Um,
Okay.
so it was May of last year, I think.
Okay. All right, gotcha. So, and that was with the same setup you got now, or you got anything
Same
different?
setup.
Same
So
exact setup.
that was a so it's
Oh,
a
well, we'll get to what's
that was
really
still
working on the car now.
yeah. So that was the same setup, engine and turbo wise.
Hmm.
Um, it's on the car right now. We fought and fought and fought for it, and honestly, that like I'm actually thankful that what happened at GTR World Cup happened. We went to TX2K right after that. We went 7.0 again at 211 miles an hour. The car was working really good. We broke a drive shaft. We went out to Street Outlaws. We came back. The car wasn't making boost. We fought for so long with the car to get it to make, to get it to do what we want. Six and going 727 to 7.0, we thought it was going to happen so easy and so quick, that it almost wouldn't have felt as good. You know what I'm saying? So having to battle through it for, almost, for months and months and months, it made it feel so much better.
Now you're a little bit of a celebrity, man.
I don't know about that.
Yeah, you've been on TV. Street Outlaws. How you get involved into that?
That actually happened before. Um, it was like just after that GTR World Cup when the car went its first seven. Um, we got a call that some of our buddies, I think somebody was putting together a team to go down there, and it all just kind of fell apart at the last second. So we just said fuck it, and we went anyways. And me and a bunch of my buddies from Philly went down and we raced on the show. Philly versus, well, we actually weren't allowed to race on the show. I don't know if you remember when my car burnt to the ground.
Yeah, yeah. I
That was the
remember
first
that.
time we ever went down there. We were testing on the street. We were supposed to be on Team New York, or Team Philly. We were testing on the street. A fitting broke on the back of the intake manifold. It literally fell apart. The swivel came out of the, out of the threaded portion. It failed and doused the car in M1, burnt it to the ground pretty much. I flew my dad in from my shop, a wire harness, everything. Boost Logic overnighted me everything else that I could possibly see, and we fixed the car in like 30 hours.
Wow.
We cut the hood hinges off of it. Everything was melted. It was running on one sensor. Whatever was left that wasn't melted, that Rob got to work. We got the thing to run in a parking lot. We overnight we had the motor out of it at some shop. It was I want to say it was called Johnny John's Automotive. And two brothers, awesome guys. And we were out literally in the middle of a cornfield in Arkansas.
Arkansas.
And they had one lift in there. They were really good dudes. They let us use the lift, and we got the motor back in the car. Then we took it the next day to a local speed shop. It's called Secondhand Power. It's one of the coolest things I've ever seen. It's in Memphis, and it's a speed shop for used parts. So you go in there, and there's used nitrous kits, used carburetors, used headers. It was but they had new lines and fittings. So we made whatever lines and fittings melted that we needed to remake, and we got the car running the next day. To bring back out there. We did all that stuff, and then they didn't let us race in the show because it didn't have a certified roll cage.
Shit. Seriously? Isn't this a street race? Does it matter?
And it's crazy because we came back the next year and we raced the car as is with the same shit that was in
Oh
it
yeah,
the
with
years
the
before
same, no, nobody cared. Next year, nobody cared, but this year
Yeah.
somebody cared. Now, was it the same? Fuck, I lost sound on my ears, but it came back. You can hear me fine, right?
Yeah.
All right, check. Yep, yeah, we got sound. So what was it the same? Was it the same? Street Outlaws have had like a bunch of different seasons, and was it the same? Like, how do you say?
Season like the same. Yeah,
Yeah,
I know
like
what
the
you're saying.
same location or whatever they call it.
The first one was Street Outlaws Memphis,
Memphis.
and then it was Street Outlaws Fastest in America in Memphis.
Oh, still in Memphis. Okay.
Yep, in Memphis on a different road.
All right.
So we've been 3 seasons on Street Outlaws Fastest in America.
Wow.
So
Three
the next
seasons.
the next time we went out there was with Team Northeast with Chris Rankin.
Yep. I
Um,
remember that.
we went out there, and then the second season was in Wyoming. We went out there and got turned around because there was because of COVID.
Oh yeah.
And then the next one was Vegas. So we were out in Vegas for almost a month.
Now, how's the experience? I mean, I don't know how much you can talk about that, but how's the experience filming that stuff? Is it a lot of staging, or is it a little bit more, loose, out there?
No, it's legit. I mean, there's no like, oh, this guy has to win, this guy has to lose. There's certainly a little bit of hustle to it. You're not allowed to test on the road, but certain people are allowed to test on the road. You know what I'm saying?
Yep. Yep.
So that's what happened in Vegas. We went out there, we had a we had a good time. We were testing, and cars were getting faster, and then all of a sudden we weren't allowed to test anymore. And if you test, you're thrown off set. So, then come a week later, by the time we actually race, and now everybody's fast, or all the other people are, all the people that are about to test are fast.
Of course.
So it is what it is. I mean, I was invited back out this last summer, and I chose not to go. It wasn't for the Fast in America. It was for a different version of the show.
Okay.
But it's tough, man, because you don't get paid to go.
Okay.
You know,
Well,
um,
they assume
everybody.
that you're getting all this exposure and stuff. So
I mean, it's more so everybody's willing to go out there and get their ass kicked on TV for free.
there you go.
So
Okay,
they know if they
gotcha.
don't pay you, somebody else is waiting right in line to come and do it. So we done it. We had a good time doing it. We had a ton of fun. Honestly, the first time I went out there, no bullshit. The first time I went out there, it changed my life. It gave me a whole different outlook on business and racing and stuff like that. Because same thing, like what I was getting at, I'm out there and I'm losing money.
Yeah.
You know, they're not paying your bills. They're not working on cars at your shop for you. I got all my guys with me, and yeah, we're having the time of our life, but it's putting you in a bad spot to be out there.
Yeah.
So that changed my mindset a little bit in the way of I need to do something different so I can be out there and still be making money.
No,
You know what I
absolutely.
mean?
Obviously, you're out there and you're not making any money. It's kind of a vacation. How long does that process take?
The first two times we were only out there a week at a time, then you come back, then you'll go back out a couple months later, whatever. That was okay. But Vegas was a month. Thank God
A
we had,
month.
yeah, thank God we had sponsors, uh I know you've seen a lot of buzz with John Odom, but John Odom, HMH Construction, he stepped up to the table big time for Street Outlaws last year.
Yep.
He was a huge fan of the show, and now he's one of the stars of the show.
Yep.
And he helped us out huge because otherwise, like I said, like this summer, it wasn't worth it. You're going to go out there, you're going to spend 3 weeks out there, you're going to do nothing but spend money, take guys away from the shop. And even when you do get a sponsor or something like that to come and help cover your expenses, you're still falling behind on the schedule and stuff like that. So
I was thinking of spending some time as Iron Man, with thrusters for feet and hands like cannons. Is that too much to ask?
Oh yeah, man. Good to you brought that up because I was gonna ask you about that next. Go ahead. Let's go. Tell me about that one.
that one, we've been out there 4 times, I think. It's we went out 2 or 3, maybe 3 times with my car, and once with another car. It might be 3 or 4 times. I don't know. But we had a blast. It's quick. You're there. You film. You leave. They try to cover as much of the expenses for you as they can. And you need a hotel. How many hotels you need? 2, 3, no problem. All set.
Hoonigan,
They got
Hoonigan are
breakfast.
YouTubers, right?
Yeah, YouTube. Yep.
Okay.
And then, breakfast, lunch, and dinners catered. Scotto's got all the good snacks over there. You're out on you're out on the street in the middle of the night in Vegas. It's 40 degrees and you can't even get a hot chocolate because they tell you that it's for the staff only. You know what I'm saying? So
What?
Hoonigans, they really take care of you. That was an awesome experience, and anytime they call, we'll go. I told them we'll build another car just to go.
Honest. I gotta be honest. I didn't see the complete Hoonigan episode. What did you race on Hoonigans?
The first time out, we raced a Corvette in this versus that, and then we raced Hoonigan the Hoonicorn versus the World. So we raced the actual Hoonicorn.
Nice. How was that? Who won that?
We won. So as far as I know, I don't know what's been filmed since that hasn't been released, but as far as I know, so far, I think we're the only car that's beat it. So that was
What?
really cool. Yeah,
No
that car is
way.
really fast. It's no
Yeah,
joke.
I seen it. I seen a run. Yeah,
You know,
interesting. Yeah.
we got the
Yeah.
car on 65 pounds of boost. It went, we went 182 to 1,000 feet
What? 180.
to
God
beat the
dang
car.
it!
Yeah, it
Wow.
was no joke.
Nice, bro. That's insane. Hey, let me see. Oh, we got Race Motive. Race Motives over here. The guys that do the Pocono roll races.
Yep.
Now, so he wants me to ask you a question. I'm gonna ask you because I gotta take their questions. They're my boys. So he says, how would you make roll racing better after all the events you've been to?
So I actually used to be a big fan of what was the original one, Omar? At
Slipstreams.
yeah,
Slipstream. They
my
so they
my only
Slipstream was them and Nestor. So they were a team. Then they separated.
yep.
They Slipstream went one way and they created race motive.
Yeah.
So
So I mean, I used to love going to the slipstream events. Back in the day, the only thing that got me off of it, honestly, was the competition. I don't want to just go out and see who's the fastest one at the track. You know what I'm saying? Because for me, I'm an ET guy. I don't have the biggest wallet, so I'm not going to put up the biggest mile an hour all the time. I want to see the strategy and so for me what would make certain roll races more like is winning something. I could care less to win $5,000. I'd rather win the trophy. You know what I'm saying? So it's for me, it's just the spirit of competition. Like TX2K is competitive. We went out to FL2K this last time out with Marcelo Duran's car, and we won the roll race and the drag race there. I'm not. I said at the Hoonigans thing that they asked if I would do a roll race, and I told them that I usually stand when I pee.
I
Um,
remember. I remember that part. That part
I'm
I
not
saw. That part I saw.
I'm not actually against roll racing. I think it's fun. But yeah, it's just for me, it's just competition. Have bring the brackets back and yeah, sure, there's always going to be somebody sandbagging, but even guys that are sandbagging can lose a race. You know what I'm saying? I remember when I think they used to split us up into three different classes, just like they do at all these events.
Yeah.
That would be the only change I would make, really. And then because like for me, you can go on the highway and you can go 220 miles an hour. Who
Yeah.
cares?
Sure.
You know?
I guess that his follow up question is what are events missing that you like to see? You know.
I think the hardest thing about events is promoting them and being organized and stuff like that. Like you know, I keep bringing up, but Victor does a great job. Peter does a great job. And that's why these events are successful. And you have less and less people putting the time in and putting the effort in to make events. People are always going to want to race their shit.
Yep.
That's just how it goes. If somebody's putting on a good event for me, and the one thing I've learned from Vic, guaranteed payouts
Yeah.
is a
Yep.
huge thing. A huge thing. And getting good sponsors 90% of the time when you get someone to put up a decent amount of money to sponsor an event, they bring cars with them.
Yeah. Of course.
If we sponsor an event, we're probably bringing 4 or 5 cars. You get the car counts up, and it sucks because you see a lot of people knocking one another, and it's just tough because you see more people giving up on racing than trying to make it work. So you have guys like you like Vic, and like I know Chris Miller is doing a couple events in the Northeast, like, and it's just tough because
Now
track
you think
tracks are closing.
you think people falling off or getting away from racing, you think it has to do with the way events are being ran, or is it you think it might be money, or stuff like, all right, this guy used to race a lot, but his financial situation changed. Okay, maybe, or maybe he got fed up, or he failed so much that he got fed up because the events he wasn't getting what he was expecting on events. Well, what do you think?
One of my least favorite things about the industry that we're in, about like the GTRs and stuff like that, is the lack there of events. I
I
wouldn't want to
agree.
be spending a couple $100,000 a year to race my car 3 times.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? And this kind of goes into where we're going to get to eventually, where my car's at right now. I love my car, so I made it so I can compete in other events. You know what I'm saying? Because the lack of events for cars like ours for drag racing, it sucks. And so when you got guys that are spending this tons of money to go to these events and only go 2 or 3 times a year, and the cars are probably going to fucking break 2 or 3 times a year,
Yeah.
and just happens to be at those events, of course, everybody loses steam. Everybody loses, that it's competition breeds growth. You know, the only reason we've advanced so far. You know, in the beginning, when my car was going so much faster than the class, everybody would, oh, that's not fair. That's a race car. This and that. I hate to break it to you. I didn't come to be on everybody else's level. I came to win the trophy.
Yep.
You know what I'm saying? So, but guess what? The next year, everybody else was faster. And the year after that, everybody else was faster. And now that class is religiously running faster than what I was running then. But if somebody didn't go the fastest, then nobody, you know, I'm not saying that I was what I was, you know, why that happened. You know, that's not what I'm saying at all. But if there wasn't somebody always pushing the limit, then the racing's never going to evolve. And then, you know, you're at an event to race. You're not at an event to just drive next to somebody else. You know what I'm saying?
Imagine how boring it would be for a full bolt-on event, and it's full bolt-on event forever. Ain't nobody go back to that. You know, only people upgrade when there's something to compete. Just like you said, competition.
Yep.
I like it.
So that's,
like it.
you know, that's it too. And then, but I've also seen the downside of that as well. Some of the classes now are so competitive that the competition is way up here. And a lot of guys still do like street cars. So now to build a 68 millimeter car, you're not building a car that runs 780s anymore. The cars in the 68 millimeter class that are winning are going 730, 720, 740s. Yeah. You know, we've got a carbon car that's been in the finals at every event it's been to so far, in the 68 millimeter class, and it is still a street car. But the thing is, 68 millimeter makes 2,000 horsepower, goes 740s. It's on ethanol. It's full interior. It's full weight. It's like almost 4,100 pounds.
Wow.
But it costs a lot to do that shit, you know? So I see where it's has its upsides and its downsides, because certain people can't compete.
How can you improve that car, for example?
That one right there?
Yeah, that one you just talked about. You know, 4,100 pounds. That's a heavy car, man.
The whole car front to back is carbon fiber. Front to back. But it has every single piece that's ever been made for the GTR carbon fiber. So you didn't lose any weight. It just looks prettier. You know? Exactly. So it's that car in particular. It's just one of those like unicorns, you know. It's competitive, but it's still a full street car. The guy will drive the car 300 miles in one day.
Wow.
Billet crank, billet block, like, you know, he has every bell and whistle you could buy for the car. But it's just, you know, to improve that car, the next step that I would do would be to obviously take weight out of it. But then it takes away from
street
ability he wants. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Certain people don't care. You know, we'll rip everything out of it, but this car will go in a car show and then go in a race.
Yeah. So yeah, you basically need to get rid of the street ability and then come for features of it. And
if you want to be
and go full race car on it.
Yeah, I mean, whenever anybody asks me to build a car to compete in the 68 millimeter class, like, they have to be prepared to build a race car, a roll cage. You know, I would put the car on methanol. You know, that's just my preference. Mm-hmm. And that just, you're not driving on the street after that.
Nope, that's it. Race car is a race car, street car is street car. It is what it is. All right. How does... Damn. Thank you, Race Motive, for the super chat. I really appreciate it. Hey, man, I got $20, man. Pay for a little bit of that, how do you say, the Zoom subscription. Mac, how does command... Now, are you still command performance, or the shop Houston, or both?
It's both. We just, you know, I came down here and we just merged. You know, they had the business down here is great. You know, believe it or not, there's not that many places working on GTRs down here.
Really?
And there's a lot more people. Up there, there's a decent amount of people, of course. There's people everywhere. But there's a ton of shops that are working on GTRs all within the same area. You know, the closest shop to us I'm not saying working on GTRs, but the closest shop to us that's competitive with GTRs is T1, and they're 5 hours away. You know, 5 hours. It's crazy. You can go from one end of Houston. Houston as a city in itself is bigger than Connecticut, the whole state that I'm from.
That's insane.
So
Everything's big in Texas.
it's crazy. Yeah, people always say Houston is an hour away from Houston.
Nice. Shit, I heard that
So
before.
it's the business down here was so good, and I was tired of competing with everybody's price in the Northeast. Oh, this guy will do it for this guy will do it for that. Now I've gotten older and I've gotten, more wise, and now it's take it to them and then, bring it back over here when you need it fixed.
There you go.
That's it. And that's one of the things that's changed me about moving here, because down here I've got 10 or 11 employees. I have a serious overhead. We have a 14,000 square foot facility. Like, we have bills to pay. So you can't be giving everybody deals, and it's taught me a lot about business moving down here as well,
You just finished that facility. You just posted, the new facility not too long ago, right? It's
Yep.
beautiful, bro. Congratulations.
Yeah, we've been in here for I would say about a month now. A little bit longer because we were transitioning, but it's been complete for probably about a month now. It's nice. We're only a couple units down from where we were before, but we moved into almost 3 times the space. So we have, indoor storage available, and, for customers that want, that want to choose that, and way more parts storage. We have a dyno room, enclosed dyno room that's, ventilated and soundproof, and it's really nice. That in itself was a game changer. You're dyno in a car on M1 and you gas the whole shop out, and now you look and everybody that's supposed to be working is sitting outside crying.
Yep. I got that. All right, now let's go back to Kimbo 2022. You made a killing in World Cup finals, import versus domestic. You made an impression, at least on me. I was enjoying I was watching every time you were coming up, bro, because I was expecting you to win the whole thing. Tell me about Kimbo on 2022, bro.
So this time last year, World Cup finals last year, we went out, and like I said, I like to race, and I had always thought about this every time I travel really far with the car, how silly it is to go that far, and everybody knows, and it's nobody's fault. You know what I'm saying? There's nobody that to blame for a GR6 braking. We're to blame. The cars are making 2,000 horsepower. They didn't design the shit at the factory to make 2,000 horsepower. It gets to a point where no matter how strong the gears are, no matter who makes them, no matter what they're made out of, or clutches, this, that, it's not going to hold. It's going to break. Shit breaks. That's it. I'm not mad at the transmission. I'm mad at myself for driving 30 hours away with a $35,000 transmission, no spare. For 35 grand, I could build 2 spare motors.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? So no spare, or for 35 grand, I can build a spare motor and have 1 spare of every single part in the car. So it's just crazy to me that we're going 30 something hours away with no spare, and unfortunately, you don't know if the trans is going to make it 100 passes or 1 pass. We were just out there, and I was talking to all the guys from T1. They swapped 5 GR6s. They R&R'd the transmissions 5 times.
On this event?
Yeah.
How many cars did T1 had?
That's what I saw posted. They had a bunch of cars. They always have a bunch of. They had
varying size old car.
Yeah, they had Stacy's car. They had
Stacy Vernett's, yeah.
They had another blue car. They had George's car. They had Christine's car, and then they had George's Pro Mod, Byron's old car.
Yep.
But it wasn't. They didn't. This one had a clutch problem, so they swapped the They pulled the trans out of this one, put the clutch in this one. This and that. They were making it work, and that's just how it goes.
Yeah. I see it. I see it all the time at GTR World Cup. I see it all the time in Texas 2K. It's what it takes.
Yeah.
It is what it is.
It's just like, I don't have spares. I don't have, I didn't have another spare tranny to put in the car. It just, it just came down to, I wanted to be able to be competitive. And so last year we went out there, and the first hit, we went 7-0, and, right back to where we were before. We went 697 the time before that. We went 7-0, and the next pass out, it left the starting line and broke second gear. Um, so I made the choice right then and there, and I was like, I'm not doing this shit again. And I said that when I came back to the next year, that I was going to compete. And so right away we started working on a Turbo 400 setup. Um, we had the car ready for TX2K in March. That's when we just started working out the bugs.
Wait.
So
So TX2K, you already had the Turbo 400 on it.
yeah,
Okay.
that was the first time the car ran 2 days before the event.
Got it.
And the way the setup was, it was still all wired up like a regular GTR, still had the conversion box, still had all the unnecessary bullshit, honestly.
Yeah.
And we were working around it, struggling, and we got the car to work. And we went out, and by the end of the event, we were able to make one little, almost eighth mile pass, just to make sure all the hardware was working. Then we took it out and we started moving quickly with it. Every time out to the track, it was getting better and better and better, to the point where now we were finally we made whatever, we found all the bugs, all the issues, everything that we needed to change, and we fixed all of it before this event. And we went out to World Cup finals this year. And right off the bat, we made an eighth mile pass just to shake it down, make sure everything was working. You still got me?
Yeah. I still got you. And just my my main camera ran out of batteries, so. But you're still in.
Okay.
Don't worry.
Yeah, we went out. We were making sure everything was working. And because it was, again, kind of a new setup, we had just basically rewired the whole car front to back, and added a couple things here and there, shook it down. Then we made 1/4 mile pass. It went 7.0. We turned it up, went 687, 682, 684. On the 684 pass, we were turning off the track, and I heard the axle clicking. So
Wait. Hold on. Go back to the starts. The first passes. So what was the first pass? 87.
Well, we went 7.0. Was the first 1/4 mile pass on the
Okay.
Turbo 400 period.
Okay. That's the very first pass. Are you talking about testing? You're not talking about World Cup finals.
This is at World Cup finals. Yep.
Oh,
This
this
is
is
the first
okay.
World Cup finals is the first time we've ever been to the 1/4 mile with the car.
Oh, shit.
World Cup finals is actually the first time we ever made a clean pass to the eighth.
All right.
So
Got
we
it.
went, and we went out there and we went 7.0, and then we put a little more power in it, and we started progressing quickly after that. And I realized after Q4 that the axle was clicking. I talked to Drive Shift Shop. They got me some parts overnight. They got me the parts same day, actually.
Nice.
I rebuilt both the axles. We put them back in the car in the morning on Sunday for elimination round number 1, and we had a bit more power in the car to get it to 60-foot better, and to get it to go much quicker to the eighth. We went out first round of eliminations. We went 112 to the 60, so 112 to the 60-foot.
Nice.
And it broke another axle. So
Oh shit.
yeah, so we're working. Drive Shaft Shop also is on board. They sponsor the car. We've been working through this together with them because this is the first one with the 9-inch in it. We think that the angle might be a little too harsh for the CVs. And so I sent them some measurements today, and we're gonna, get another solution for it, and go from there.
Now, so the first 6 second, World Cup finals.
Yep.
What was that? Six
That was
eight what?
687.
Okay, that was an 87.
Yeah.
Then you
209.
went 82,
Yep.
and what was the last one?
84.
84. Fucking bracket car, bro. I was telling everybody, Max got a bracket car. That's
we have
insane.
It has a lot more left in it. I'm pretty excited about it. We have plenty to the short track, and then even a little bit more boost up top.
So you think your limit right now were the axles?
I want to say that I think that we honestly, because those other axles had lasted me 25 test passes probably. I think that in the scramble, of getting us the axles so quick. It's possible that we got the wrong cages in the CVs. We haven't determined that yet, so I can't say that for sure. But it just, Driver Shop has an amazing product. We've used their axles forever. And we've never had a problem like that. So I think that just in the craziness of everything, we might have got a regular set of CVs instead of the chrome moly ones that we needed. I didn't notice it. They might have not noticed it. And I believe that's what happened. And that's why the car had the issue that it had, because had it not had that problem, I think it would have been a deep 70 on that pass, possibly even a 60.
What class were you at? Warriors?
Warriors, yeah.
And you had Cletus there.
Yeah, I would have had Cletus the round after that.
Oh man, that would have been such a freaking amazing race to watch, bro.
Yeah, honestly, I was trying not to look past the first round, but I was really, really looking forward to racing Cletus. We were gonna take a Hail Mary at it and see what it did.
Absolutely.
I think the car would have took it, and we would have seen another personal best out of it.
So you think, let's say, in a perfect world, you can't see me, right?
No.
Okay, good. But I can see you. Don't worry. And on the live stream, I turned on another camera, but I got you. So I guess in a perfect world, you say you probably could have gone a 70?
Yeah, that was my goal for the event. I would have liked to go 670s. With what the car 60 footed on the last one, and the power that we had left to put in it to the eighth, I think that it's very possible that it could have gone, even in the 60s, or quicker. We'll see what happens when when we're out the next time with it.
In a perfect world, okay, the car is working. Everything's working the way it should be working. You got your axle problem already sorted. Everything's good. What do you think? What do you think you can get out of the car?
As
you go for the record?
I would like to. Obviously, that's the goal with it. I do have a set of. It's still on 68mm turbos.
Okay.
So I do have a set of 76s for it. When the time comes for when we're tapped out and we need to go with a bigger turbo, I like to push everything as far as I can push it without, until I upgrade. I want to make sure that I get the most out of everything. With this setup. So I think personally, that the car can go in the 60s as it sits, and then once all the kinks are ironed out of it, you never know. When we throw a Hail Mary at it and on the perfect pass, it might run a 50 how it sits. But I think with the next round of upgrades we have coming for it, and with the set of 76s, I think it's capable for sure.
So the plan right now is max out what you got on it.
Yep.
And possibly 50 or 60.
Yeah, I think on this setup, I think we can go in the 60s. Obviously, I would love to go in the 50s, but that would probably take all the stars to align, to make that happen. And then I think on the 76s, the possibilities are endless. You never know.
Now for the smack talk part of this section, is the record gonna count if you break it like that?
I don't know. It really depends who's dissecting it. It's a tough topic because I can't really answer it honestly. Anyways, it's very hard to tell because everybody likes to say that the R32 that went, I think 640s is the fastest GTR in the world, just not an R35, but that's a GTR with a turbo 400. But the R35 isn't a GTR if it doesn't have a GR6. That doesn't make that much sense.
So
it's like it's a bunch of controversy because at the same time, like if we want to talk about what the car came with and didn't come with, it didn't come with like George's car has a spindle mount skinny on the front. That's a ton of weight off the front end.
Yeah.
But you're taking out the hardest part. If you go back and you look at the videos from 2018 of my car at GTR World Cup when it first ran that 7, the front wheel drive unit wasn't working. So it was completely rear wheel drive, and the car leaves perfectly smooth every time, to the point where I asked
Yes.
Rob one time if he thought he would be able to make the car leave rear wheel drive on purpose. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And then bring in the front wheels when you needed them, because that takes out the hardest part about drag racing the GTR, in my opinion, is the way it leaves. That's no like mystery. You never see a car that is still GR6, still all-wheel drive, sit down, squat, and leave perfectly smooth every time. It just doesn't happen.
Nah, it's
So
hard.
it's really hard to debate the topic. You can sit here and argue with it till you're blue in the face. So I'm gonna try to shoot for a record that people can't really argue with, you know?
Hey, who cares, man? It's all fun. The way I see it, I love the all the fun. It's fun. So, what makes a GTR a GTR? We don't know. I don't know. It could be the GRC, the GR6, could be the VR38.
I think, in my opinion, and again, my opinion doesn't matter. And that's why I want to go for a record that nobody can argue with,
Yeah.
because everybody can sit here and argue what is, what isn't, what isn't for the rest of their lives. In my opinion, it's got a stock chassis, it's got the motor that still came in the car,
Yeah.
um, then then that's as good as it's going to get. Like, what are you going to say? Oh, this Mustang isn't the fastest Mustang because it doesn't have a 10R80 and it has a turbo 400 instead. You think those guys sit? And yeah, of course they have the 10 speed records, but still, not every car that's out here came with a power glider, came with a 400 or this and that. So the shitty part that nobody loves to hear is no one outside of GTRs gives a flying fuck about the records.
That's true, man.
You know what I'm saying? So
Only-
like it's cool to have the records and this and that, but like what nobody likes to hear is that we're this tiny speck on the earth, and these people get so pissed about this record and what is a GTR and what isn't a GTR, that they don't realize no one else cares. You know what I'm saying? Not one single other person cares
Nope.
besides the 1,000 people, 2,500 people that are in our R35 Smack Talk group. You know? So
I don't know. Maybe
Listen.
it's just a way to make conversation and have some
Oh,
fun.
I
you
still
know?
love it. You know what I'm saying? Like this is, and I was in a interview that got posted today. Like it's what I do for a living. You know, I care about stuff like that too, still, of course. But at the end of the day, these people are losing sleep over something that really doesn't
Yeah.
matter to the rest of the world.
It really doesn't matter because, and I see it in your car, and the limiting factor on this car, if you want to keep going faster and faster and faster, it's the GR6. GR6 is not meant to take that beating. Forget it. You said it. It's a money pit. It's not it. It's a money pit. It's a time pit because obviously you got to spend money on it. You got to spend so much time making all those swaps. Come on, let's get real. If we want to keep racing the GTR, we
It
gotta
really,
improve.
yeah, it really just
We
depends.
gotta
You know,
upgrade.
if you're okay and you want to do, which I used to do, don't get me wrong. I street raced my car a lot when I had the GR6 because that's what I like to do.
Sure.
And I'm a I'm a grudge racer at heart. So when it comes to all the records and stuff like that, you either got a fast car or you don't.
Yep.
So this guy might set the record and go one time a year and run, but like I'm a competitor, I want to compete, and that's why I do care somewhat about the records, because I like to keep pushing and pushing. But at the end of the day, I like to race, and the transmission that I have in my car now, it allows me to race at any event that I want. I can bump in, I can stage the car, I can leave off a trans brake. There's no delay.
Yes.
There's GTRs out there, Caesar included, that are faster than a lot of the cars in their class, but you can't stage the car and you can't leave on time, and it's just like so frustrating because nobody else cares about that shit either. You're going to an event with real racers. If somebody came up to me and asked me, "Hey, my car does this on the starting line, can you do that to help me?" I would do the exact opposite. I'm here to win the race. I'm not here to
Yep.
help you stage.
100%.
You
It's a
know?
competition. We're here to win. We're here to go rounds, and win the competition. We don't care
Yeah, so
what you got. As long as you go by the rules of the class, who gives a shit? You know what I'm saying?
and in my opinion, the VR is the most capable import engine. You know, I know my buddy Victor. He
He's
he's in
he's here
denial.
in the chat.
Yeah, he's in denial. And
Uh-oh. Well,
the
no, actually, no. He's not in denial. He already posted. He wants what is it? Twin turbo big block.
yeah.
He's going to
No, he
upgrade
knows.
from the 2J to a big block twin turbo. Hey Vic, what's up, buddy? He says that the 400 will be a game changer for the future of GTR drag racing. I agree.
Yeah. Yeah, for sure. So, we always like to go back and forth about the VR, the 2J. Obviously, I was a 2J guy originally. I had SC300s when I was a kid. I got my induction performance shirt on right now.
There you go.
Every once in a while, I like to feel bad for the 2J guys. But it's, in my opinion, it makes the most power. It's extremely reliable, I think. He made an amazing point to me one time. The problem is you can't control who tunes them. You can't control who builds them. You can't control this and that. So the 2J, you can put a head gasket in at the track. The VR, you can't put a head gasket in at the track.
No.
Ideally, you don't ever need to do that. But, in terms of the future of import drag racing, I think that the VR can be a serious competitor, if people know how to use it.
Now, I had another question for you. What the hell? It completely left my damn brain. Shit. Forget it. Drawing a blank. All right. So, GTR or no, that's not what I want to go. VR or V10?
That's tough. I mean, the V10s have a crazy amount of potential. They make an insane amount of power, bone stock, like crazy. We were like, whoa, these things make 1400. They'll make 1800 stock. It all depends how hard you want to push them. You can make
you build them.
1650. You can make 1650 somewhat reliable.
You build them at your shop.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yep. We have I think we have 5 or 6 of them here right now. For turbo kits, and almost all of them are here for turbo kits. Some of them are already turbo here for tuning, for maintenance, whatever. But they're an extremely capable platform. But also a hard. You're kind of in the same boat with staging it and competing with it. It's kind of just like the next step up for the GTR guys. It's competitive, but I think where we're going to find the limit for drag racing those is I don't know how you make classes for those.
Oh, interesting.
Because the stock motors make so much power. They make more power than some cars that are on built motors. And how do you control who's got a stock motor and who's got a built motor? You're going to have to get into crazy amounts of inspections because you already know I'm going to show up with a built motor and race it in the stock motor class.
Hell yeah. That's a good point right there. It's insane. It's insane how much power you can squeeze out of those stock motors and transmissions.
Not actually that I'm gonna do that, but there's going to be somebody. You know what I'm saying?
Of course.
So it's too hard to police it. And like I said, they all make big power. It's not like, oh, this is a full bolt-on class. There's no full bolt-ons. The car didn't come with anything but turbo. So now basically entry level is 1400 horsepower. It's crazy.
Well, I guess breakout limits, but who really wants to do that? You know what I'm saying?
You got slow guys with fast cars that, one time they might just happen to get it right, and it's going to go just as fast. It's going to be I think making classes for those cars is going to be very difficult. So it's going to be hard to see them be competitive.
I agree. Now, who's tuning your car? You still tuning with Rob?
This last event, we had Chris Delgado helping us out. He's the developer for the package that we're on, the Pro Drag package with the new wiring setup. So he was tuning the car at World Cup finals.
Well, worked out pretty good. So
But in terms of everything else, he Rob tunes all of our GTRs, all of our V10 stuff, everything else. Essentially, we got the car together too late, to where it was a totally new package, and Rob basically came to me and said, like, I can tune the car, sure, but I don't know that I can make it perform. And he's one of those guys that if he can't make it perform, he doesn't want to do it, because he only wants his stuff to be the best, and there's nothing you can do but respect that.
straight shooter. Gotta love it. So that's it, man. Wow, man. I appreciate you being here, bro. I appreciate you spending this time. I see you're still at the office, man. All shifts, man. All
Yeah.
shifts.
I mean, when I'm not traveling, I'm here because I don't really have shit else to do in Houston. So we're working, and I do travel a lot. So when I'm not traveling, if I'm taking off like tomorrow night, I'm leaving, Thursday night. So it's I got to try to make up time while I am here.
Yeah, that's good, man. Well, again, I thank you for coming on to my platform. You're doing me a favor. Anyways, I really appreciate it. This is actually, believe it or not, whoever's watching this, we got about 26 people on the live. This is the first time me and Mac actually have a real conversation. Besides, hey Mac, how you doing? And how's the car doing? All right, man. Good luck, man. You're killing it. Well, that's it. Pretty much.
Yeah,
So
for sure.
this is not planned at all. I just messaged you this morning,
Yeah.
on it on IG. So, and you said, let's do it. All right, let's do it. Let's do it. Who's that? Oh, all right, man. No problem. There are people thanking us over here for doing this. Well,
Yeah,
Mac, I appreciate it, bro.
tell them to go
If
on
you
the,
want, you want to shout out anybody, thank anybody. This is your platform, bro. Do you
I was
think?
gonna tell all 26 of them to go on my Instagram and click on the link and buy a hoodie or a hat. I'm sure they're all up there from the Northeast. Go get something to keep their domes warm.
There you
I
go.
just dropped the website today. We're gonna start getting into some merch and stuff, and we're bringing back some of the old command stuff. Since the 3.5 years we've been down here, everybody's been asking me for some old stuff. And so we dropped a little bit of that today.
Nice. Do me a favor. Text me the link to the site so I can put it on the description of this video so people know where to go straight to it.
Got it.
And social media, where you at?
MacBros7 on Instagram. MacBros7.
That's it. Only IG for you.
And Facebook, Mac Brosnan.
All right. I'm sure you got a bunch of friends on Facebook.
Yeah, and then obviously the shop pages, Command Performance, the Shop Houston. Everybody. Once they find one, all of them are kind of linked together.
Beautiful. Excellent, man. Well, keep up the work, and I guess when we see you next, GTR World Cup, or what's the next event for you guys?
I think
DCT World Cup.
Yep. I think DCT World Cup is going to be the next event for us. I wanted to say there's a streetcar takeover coming up that I was going to try to make it to, but I'm not entirely sure. We might pull the car apart and get going on our next round of upgrades.
Nice. There you go. So, DCT World Cup to see Mac at the racetrack again. I'm definitely gonna be there, live stream all weekend, and
Yeah, we'll be with Kimbo and GTR Unlimited.
nice, beautiful. And customers, you bring in customers, of course. You always do.
Yeah, we'll probably have we've had as many as 12 some years. But usually we average around 5 or 6 guys in our camp. So it all depends. To be honest, bringing 12 guys sucks. So I hope it's not 12. But if it is and 12 guys want to go, then we'll support them.
Let's go. All right, my friend. I appreciate your time, and we'll see you soon, man.
All right, cool. I appreciate it.
Later, bro.
Later.
All right. Let's see. Am I still on this thing? Let's close out this page. All right. Well, there you go. That was Mac Brosnan. Kimbo's jockey, and Kimbo, that GTR is killing it. I was having a blast watching that car go 6'8", 6'8", 6'8". Man, I really thought he had it. I really thought he had it. I was really looking forward to see him go uh, at least all the way to the finals. But GTR problems, or should I say race car problems, it is what it is. But uh, I think they got a really good thing going on. So I'm really looking forward to seeing how far they can take it. DCT World Cup, Texas 2K. Those are going to be two really good events to push that platform. All right. It's a little bit late. It's only 11:32. I usually go to bed 12, 1 a.m. I don't sleep too much. So let's see who we got. Summit, thank you for thank you for the super chat. I really appreciate it. Thank you for being here. Thank you everybody that tuned in. Remember, if you liked, share, like, subscribe. I really appreciate it. It helps the channels because we are actually live on Twitch, and as well we're live on Twitch. I'm actually piggybacking on YouTube off of Twitch because I was using Twitch to do some testing. So I really appreciate everybody being here. Keep up the likes, subscribes, and shares so everybody sees the content. And little by little, I'll try to do more and more for you guys. As I get time. Busy life over here. So I wish I could do this full time. I really like it, but